Good morning. How is everyone today? Look at this that I have. I have upgraded from my phone. Do any of you shop on Facebook Marketplace? Because that's where I got this. This camera was a smoking good deal, like a really good deal. It's a Canon Rebel T3i. It came with 2 batteries, an extra lens. This is an 18-55 lens, but it also came with a 50mm portrait lens, filters, a whole package for less than $300. It was amazing. I was already looking to replace my camera anyways. I have a Nikon J1 that's not working, so it was going to cost me to fix it, and I like having the Nikon J1 is a mirrorless camera, and this Canon Rebel T3i is a DSLR, and I was looking to get a DSLR anyways. All this info is not relevant to what I'm going to talk about today. I'll leave it in the description box what this is. The whole point of that little ramble was Facebook Marketplace, an amazing thing. This was a great deal, and I'm very thankful to the guy that sold it to me. The sound quality, I feel like, isn't going to be that good, but I ordered a microphone to go with it on Amazon that should be here tomorrow. So hopefully that will improve the sound quality. Anyways, I'm happy with this image quality. I'm still figuring it out. I'm familiar with this camera. I have used it before, but not for shooting videos. So anyways, new adventures. We're trying new things. Today, I want to talk about books. We're going to talk about books again. I want to talk about one book specifically. I just finished reading The Starless Sea, and I talked about this in my books I read in 2019 video, that this was going to be the next one I read, I'm pretty sure, because that was what we read for book club. And I did talk a little bit about the night circus and my love for the night circus. So Erin Morgenstern is the woman who wrote The Night Circus. She also wrote The Starless Sea. If you read The Night Circus and you loved it, you will love The Starless Sea. I'm confident. It's written in that same kind of magical, lyrical style. It was such a good book. It was so interesting. You know, for our book club, we tend to read the hot fiction, essentially, like the Reese Witherspoon's book club, the Oprah book club picks, the I don't know if you guys ever go to Chapters at all, the Heather's pick. Anyways, that's what we tend to read. So we wanted to branch out a little bit, and we wanted something fantasy. And so me and one other lady in the book club really loved The Night Circus. And when we saw that The Starless Sea was coming out, we thought it would be a good intro to fantasy for the rest of the group. I typically don't read a lot of fantasy. It's not my preferred genre. I prefer historical fiction, but because I love The Night Circus so much, I had high hopes for The Starless Sea. If you don't like fantasy, you're probably not going to like this, but I want you to give it a chance because it was so good. It's long, like this is hardcover, and it's almost 500 pages, but it was so worth it. Once you get through the first few chapters are a bit confusing because there's a lot happening. It kind of jumps around a bit chronologically and just story-wise, and there are stories within stories in this book, but my goodness, it's so good. I can't really even say what it's about because there's so much going on, and it would be kind of a disservice. There are some spoilers in this. There's going to be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't read it and you want to and you don't want to know what's happening, then don't watch this video. Anyways, let's talk about this. The book centers around basically mostly one main character named Zachary Ezra Rollins. He is the son of a fortune teller. That's a theme throughout the book. It always uses his full name at the beginning of a chapter, which, you know, kind of makes me laugh. Zachary Ezra Rollins, always at the start of every chapter that he's focused in. And he was the son of a fortune teller. So at the beginning of the book, He is in university, and he's openly gay, and he's a little bit of an introvert. He's interested in gaming. He has a few friends, but he's not a social butterfly. And so the book starts with him picking up a book at the library called Sweet Sorrows, and it's a different book. And so as he's reading the book, his name is mentioned in it. And even though this book is very old, it's just interesting. And so the book intrigues him because obviously his name is mentioned in it as the son of a fortune teller. And so he becomes a little bit obsessed with this book, and it leads him to search for where the book came from, but there's no author on the book. So he does a little bit of investigative digging. And so his investigation, I feel like investigation is a bit of a heavy word to use here, but that's what it is essentially. So he investigates on his own to find out the origins of the book that mentions his name. And so he ends up at a costume party, a masquerade party. This all takes place in New York City. So he ends up at a masquerade party where he meets some mysterious people, and that party kind of kicks off his journey. So then he gets transported, I don't know how else to say that, transported essentially to another world. And it's a harbor on the Starless Sea. I'm not going to get into all that because it really isn't going to make sense unless you read it. It's so interesting. It's so beautiful. Erin Morgenstern is a gift to the literary world. Her books are just so wonderful. I mean, I can't rave enough about this style of writing, because once you get into the first couple of chapters and you start to figure out where the story is going and all of the different characters involved, it's just so interesting. It's lyrically written. It's like if a song was in a book, you know, it's just wonderful. It's so magical, and she really paints a wonderful picture of the stories that are going on. And even though there are several stories that run alongside of each other, at the end they all tie together, and you see how these different worlds came to be and how Zachary ended up where he was. And it's so wonderful, and I want everyone to go out and read it and then come and tell me what you think. We have chai tea today. There's just nothing like a delicious hot cup of tea. Anyways, there's so much, there's so many metaphors, so much symbolism in this book. And the interesting thing is, once you get to the end and you kind of see how everything ties together, you know, we were talking in book club about what do the bees mean? What's the significance of the honey? Because the sea of the Starless Sea is not like regular ocean water, it's honey. And the author never really explains the significance of that. And I think that's important. I don't think she needed to explain all of these things in this book. It's kind of made obvious that it's up to your interpretation. Like, you know, I liked the significance of the sea being made of honey, where, you know, it's heavier, it's sticky, it sticks with you, it's you can't swim in it. If you fall into the sea, you know, you get dragged down. You can't really be saved. It's just interesting. And the bees, there are bees all throughout the book. The main symbols are keys, bees, and swords, and they all just kind of come together in the end. And once you're done reading it, you just kind of want to sit with it and think about how those things all tied together and what they really meant. This is the kind of book where I feel like you have to read twice to really understand everything and get the significance of everything that's going on. You know, you just have those books that you have to read twice. This is one of those books. I think you would do a disservice to this story to just read it one time and then put it down and walk away from it. You know, I've read The Night Circus probably 3 or 4 times. I love it even more every single time. It has the same type of symbolism, metaphors, magic, rich characters. The Starless Sea has the same type of thing. It's just, this is a gift to the literary world, and I want everyone to go and read it right now. It's wonderful. The characters that are in it are so interesting, and they all have interesting stories, and the author, she talks about, you know, kind of where they come from and how they all ended up where they are. And it's way to silence your phone when you're filming a YouTube video. Genius. Way to go. That's my husband texting me from work, telling me that there are 44-cent chocolate chips. Anyways, not relevant. Sorry. The Starless Sea. Go pick it up. Read it at least twice, and then come back and let's talk about it, because it's wonderful. I can't rave enough about it. It's great. That's really all I have to say. This was just kind of a mini review of The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Highly recommend. I think it's also a great pick for book clubs. This book probably sparked more discussion than we've ever had about a book, because there's so much to discuss. There's so much symbolism, so many characters, everyone has a different interpretation. Highly recommend this for book clubs, for sure. Especially if you are like my book club, where you're constantly reading those same kind of hot fiction books that come out that you hear a lot about, the Reese Witherspoon's picks, the Oprah picks. This one is really great for sparking a lot of really interesting discussion. Also, I find that the hot fiction books can often have triggering subjects for a lot of people. You know, there's a murder or sorry. As I'm still figuring this camera out, it stopped automatically while I was mid-sentence. Apparently, I need a better SD card, which I already knew. Anyways, not relevant. I was talking about that this book doesn't have as many triggering subjects, I find, as hot fiction books do. There's, you know, there's no children that get hurt, or, you know, because this book is set in a fantasy world. It comes with fantasy problems, you know. There's no nothing that should trigger anybody. You know, it's hard to read books like that. Like Jodi Picoult, if you're familiar with Jodi Picoult books, she writes wonderful books. She's a fabulous author. But the subject matter of her books is difficult and not for everybody. This book was just easy. There's nothing traumatic that happened in it, and it has a really beautiful ending. So anyways, that's all I want to say about The Starless Sea today. I hope that everyone picks it up. I hope that you read it. It's a wonderful book. I really cannot recommend it enough. If you do read it, come back, tell me what you thought about it, because I really want to know. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for joining me on my YouTube journey as I struggle my way through figuring out cameras. This background is terrible, but you know, it's what we're working with for now, because this is the most comfortable place for me to film in. The lighting sucks. My dad is building me some beautiful new bookshelves to have better storage for all of my books and crafts and things, so that's gonna look a lot better in a few weeks. It's a work in progress. Everything is a work in progress. Me, this room, this whole setup here. I thank you for watching today. I appreciate that you're here watching this video. Making YouTube videos is kind of fun. I'm enjoying it so far, even though this is only my 4th video. Anyways, that's all I got today, guys. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.